I don't know what's happening.
Oh, Charlie, you're such a good dog. All right, we wanted to provide a bit of a review. Some of the things we really liked about this Class A experience, some of the things we found a little challenging.
Because we thought maybe it would be helpful for you to understand our experience so you can make your own decision on what's right for you. So we wrote things down on our phone.
We did. And, as we try out different rigs here, we got the Class C's coming up next. We thought this is how it might go. We share the experience in the first episode and then sit down and provide a tour and review in the second one.
I love it.
Okay, so stuff that we liked.
Okay, I love how residential it feels. You have hard countertops, you have real wood.
It feels like we're in a living room of a condo right now.
Yeah, a residential fridge, real faucets. When I touch things, they don't like wiggle. You know what I mean?
It's sturdy.
Yes.
The tile floors, the real wood, the big sofa.
Yes.
I feel like, and it's up high. I feel like we're in a second story condo. It feels like our own little castle.
It really does. It's kind of fun.
Yeah. Now I will say, in all transparency, several times on this trip, I said, there is no way we're getting one of these. And I've also said several times, we are totally getting one of these. Okay? It is really fun to drive. And yet there are other times where it's really stressful to drive.
Yes.
And
you really are driving a bus.
It's really a bus, which I think is so awesome. It's so awesome.
It's a little nerve-wracking.
And yet there are other times when we're in traffic or when you're driving down the freeway at 55 or 60 miles per hour and semi-trucks are passing you and you're going over bumps and you hear it rattling. I think to myself, I don't know. Whew. Like the Super Duty is so easy. And so what I have found is that when I'm driving this, I am always on. A little bit like the Momentum, but not even as much. I'm more on in this than the Momentum. And again, granted, I'm new at it.
Brand new.
But it's...
Well, here, this will tell you. On the first night, we went to bed at like 8:55. We were both exhausted, and I wasn't even driving. But I was in that passenger seat, and it was nerve-wracking.
I think the passenger seat would be more nerve-wracking, honestly. But that kind of leads us to another thing we like, is that big windshield. I mean, that big window, not only in the front, but on the side as we're driving through Sedona. And you just have the view everywhere.
People have said that to us, and I'm thinking to myself, well, we have a really big windshield, and our, any of the Ford trucks we've had, and we even have the sunroof. I feel like we're really part of the environment. No, that window is something else. It's really... Which also is a little nerve-wracking because you're seeing the road go under you. What you may not realize is that you are in front of the tire. So when you're turning, you feel like you are part of the sidewalk. So it's kind of a crazy feeling.
All right, other stuff
the things that we loved is, residential, feels comfortable.
Okay, yeah. Right now, I mean, this is so incredibly comfortable. There's a place for me to work.
This is like a real couch.
It's a real couch. There's tons of space. The tile floors. There's a place for me to work over here.
Yes. We came home from hiking yesterday. All three of us were chilling out right here because we were exhausted. And so we had a place to sit and relax and be together, which we don't feel like we have in the Airstream.
Yeah. If you're wondering, because this is a rental and we have Charlie and he's sitting on the couch, the owners of this rig have 5 dogs and they were everywhere. So this is completely acceptable behavior. But we're going to talk more about renting and pros and cons and do's and don'ts and we get into those episodes. All right, so what else?
Some of the other stuff we talked about as pros is there's tons of storage, not only in the actual rig, but below in all the bays. I mean, we could bring smokers. Hello.
You're right, mums.
We could bring smokers and grills and furniture. We could do anything we wanted to do down there. I bet we could even get compactable bikes. I know that people have gotten e-bikes and they just put them under there.
Yeah.
So that's pretty cool. And also, it feels like we're on an adventure. It really feels like we're on a trip.
Yeah, and I would say the adventure, we've said this before, that the adventure, no matter what kind of RV you have, starts in the driveway. Don't wait until you're at the destination before you stop checking email or get into adventure mode. But I would say in a motorized RV, it's easier to get in the spirit of the trip the moment you get in the vehicle. Because you're not normally in this vehicle unless you're on a trip.
Right.
Whereas if you're towing an RV, you're in that vehicle all the time.
Right.
And so you would think that maybe when you get there, that's when things start. So.
Yes.
Yeah. What else here? Is Charlie right in your way?
Charlie wants to say a few things.
Okay, so that's the stuff that we enjoyed. Now let's talk about some of the stuff we found challenging. Trish said it feels like a big responsibility.
It does to me. It feels like this is any Class A is, I think, comparably more expensive than a towable RV.
Yeah.
And so if anything goes wrong, it's a big expense.
Yeah.
You know, not just like cosmetically, but what happens if the engine or the oil, or it just feels like there's more to consider. And I know that might not be a real feeling, that might just be made up, because there's a lot to consider with your truck to make sure that it's running properly,
Sure.
and tires and all of that. But I look at those big tires and I think, oh my word. And then when we were given the instruction on if you lose control or
Well,
if
if you
one
got
of the
blowout.
front tires gets blown out, this is what you do. Both of you have to grab the front steering
Well,
wheel.
you accelerate. You don't. You accelerate, and then you do everything you can to keep it straight, and then you come to a stop.
So with that in mind, it's almost like everything in the rig is just heightened. It's a heightened experience. And that means the positives are heightened, but also for me, the responsibility of the rig and how big it is, and that it's like a very expensive piece of equipment.
Well, and maybe that's why you typically see people who are retired or a little bit older that have Class A's, because maybe they're at a stage in their life where they can, they have fewer other responsibilities.
Maybe.
When you still have kids and a lot of things going on. I don't know, I'm making that up. Okay, so I mentioned this about the driving, but the always on experience. A lot of people, season 7, when we had the F450 and the Momentum, a lot of the comments were, people would write in, it doesn't seem like you guys are having as much fun, or you seem stressful. Stressed out. I didn't feel that way. I didn't feel like we were stressed out. In fact, I really like big stuff. I thought that's part of what makes it kind of fun, is this big, huge trailer, this big Class A. I like that. What people were picking up on is always being on.
Yes.
It's not that we're stressed out. It's that you're always focused. You're thinking.
Okay, can I go down this street? Oh my gosh, what is that tree going to do to the top of my rig?
Yeah.
There's just always
what
something
route am I on?
consider.
Are there semi-trucks? You're always on, and I think people were picking up on that, and they interpreted it as being stressed out. It's just kind of, I'm sure over time you get desensitized to it, but I don't know. I mean, we were in that momentum for about a year, and you can't.
I don't feel like I've ever.
You don't drop your guard when you're in that.
Right, exactly. In the Airstream, we have the 250 in the Airstream, and I feel like we're light and tight. I feel like I could put that Airstream away for 4 years. I'm exaggerating, but I could put it in a garage where it's covered, and I don't have to think about it. And I can pull it out and be like, let's go on a trip.
Yeah.
And I don't feel like that with this rig. I feel like it needs attention. Like.
That's one of the things we wanted to mention is
in this rig.
It seems like if you have a big Class A, especially a big expensive Class A, and again, these are just kind of our opinions, that it might be when you're really actively RVing and you're engaged in making sure it's being repaired and it's being maintained.
Sounds.
Yeah.
Okay, no, that's fine. That's the way it's supposed to sound. Or, that's an issue.
Because you're using it a lot.
You know how to finesse the rig.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Totally. And so, that's something to consider if you are thinking towable versus motorized. How often are you going to use it? How long do you plan to keep it? Do you want to use it a few times a year, put it away in storage, and then wait a couple years and then pull it out again? Because I don't know if a motorized is the best one for that. I think I might buy the motorized RV that I really like, keep it well maintained, go on a bunch of trips, and then sell it when we're not using it, and then get into it again. And again, these are just our opinions on it.
Right.
The other challenge is there are a lot of systems here, which is cool, but it just means there's a lot of things that could potentially go wrong too. Like, for instance, on this particular rig, in order to bring in the bedroom slide, the bed has to be up, and that's an electric function. So if the electric motor goes out on the bed slide, that means you have to go find out how to get it up manually before you bring the slide in. So the more systems you have, the more convenience.
You need to know your systems, because even on our reflection, we had to know how to manually bring in the slide, because at one point the slide wasn't listening anymore. So we had to know how to manually do it. So when you have a rig like this, do you have the bandwidth in your brain to say, okay, I need to know these systems, I need to know how to fix things, I need to be a little handy? I do think that that's one thing that the boating world has over the RV world. People understand that you need to be a little mechanical and work on things yourself so you can keep the train moving. Whereas, RVing...
Well, boats, much like Class A's, have more systems.
And so people know I've either got to dig into this or I've got to leave it with somebody, and that could be expensive or time consuming.
And on that note, boating tends to be remote and you can't always bring your RV into a dealer. So I think inherently a boat owner takes responsibility of trying to figure out how to fix something. Whereas an RVer, when something goes wrong, they kind of gasp and they think the manufacturer, it shouldn't be an issue, and then they call the dealer, and then the dealer can't get into the dealer, and it can be overwhelming.
Right.
Whereas a boater's like, all right, what's broken now?
Right, I gotta fix this. So anyway, ask yourself, what do I have the bandwidth to be responsible for, to know inside and out? Because I realize that when I look around here, I think these systems are really nice, but at some point I'm gonna have to tinker with them to make sure that they're working. And am I on board with that?
Yeah.
And you do get lots of rewards. You get the comfort and the style and the beauty and the ride and all kinds of stuff that come with a Class A that you can't get with a towable travel trailer. Even the most beautiful towable.
For sure.
Travel trailer.
Okay, next on the list is reservations and dry camping and things like this. So Trish and I have stayed at a lot of places super remote that I would never dream of taking this.
No.
Okay, so it does come down to what is your mission? Where do you plan to go? How long do you plan to stay?
Yes.
The other thing is being so big, you're going to have to deal with the RV parks kind of gasping when you say, how tall, make a reservation. How long are you? And you say 40 feet, and they're going to go, oh, I don't know if I can get you, before they find that one site that magically appeared. Because that's kind of how it always goes. So we had that with our momentum all the time. How tall are you? 40, or how long are you? 44 feet. And they're like, oh, well, I don't know. I don't know. Let me look. On another note, we come into this RV park yesterday, and about 5 o'clock at night, she says, do you have a reservation? I said, no. And she says, you're kidding, right? And I said, no. She says, you're kidding. I said, no, I do not have a reservation. She says, well, we're full. And so then she comes back and she says, okay, we have one site available. So here we are, we're about ready to leave, and no one's left this morning because I've been kind of paying close attention. So let's just from where I'm standing, let's take a look around. And then the other thing is just if you're considering motorized versus towable, and that's not really what this review is about, but to just consider depreciation and the cost. A lot of people I think are very price focused. I think it might serve you to be more cost focused.
How much is it going to cost you over the time you own the rig? How
much is the depreciation? How much you estimate depreciation is going to be? Repairs, maintenance, warranty, towing, all that stuff. Because from the day you buy an RV to the day you sell it, everything that you spent is what it's going to cost you. And I see in the RV forums and a lot of the comments, and people write in and they say, oh, the Airstream's so expensive, there's no reason it should be that expensive. Everyone's focused on the price.
Instead of the resale cost. And how much are you going to have returned to you at the end? So how much did it cost you during the time you owned the rig? And
inherently, because motorized RVs have an engine, it's going to have higher depreciation. But if you really want a motorized RV, I believe there is a way that you can really research the type of RV to buy, what year is it, how many miles, how many miles do you plan to put on it, how long do you plan to drive it, and I think you can get in and out with the proper research and not lose your shirt. But it will take more effort than a towable. All right, so that's our first review of the Class A. But we still now need to pack up, bring the slides in. We need to actually move forward about 5 feet so we can drain the gray.
Yes.
That's the other thing. If you have a big rig like our, I carry 2 Stinky Slinkies, extensions with me all times with the Airstream. But in a big rig, they're mandatory.
Right.
Because you're never close enough to the thing. So anyway, we're going to move forward 5 feet. We're going to drain our gray, and then we're going to make our way back to Phoenix, and it's about 3.5 hours, so get to go.
Here we go.
Get to drive again.
Let's do this.
Let's go.